Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 4. Challenge 50 of the weekly challenges here today, and it's time for the MV Agusta F4 800 here in the Nurburgring GP circuit. So here we go then, on board the MV Agusta as mentioned, as we hit the brakes very firm for the very first corner here in the Nurburgring. A very difficult corner to make, so keep it in nice and tight to the Hooghaken and bring on the acceleration. I tend to go for a tighter line here. We're using a little bit of trail brake, just getting into the left hand side for the Mercedes arena. Bring on the power and brake quite early here, just so you don't overshoot this particular corner, which I did a little bit because of course stock tyres I'm not exactly used to. I've been doing a lot of racing recently with the slick tyres, so just be paying attention to that and you should be absolutely fine. Be very careful here because there is a rather large bump in the middle of the track that just catches you off guard ever so slightly, so just try and take that in your stride using a little bit of rear brake just to try and keep the rear tyre gripped to the floor. Now bring on the acceleration and keep it nice and tight to the left hand side here, of course not going anywhere near the white line, but just as you're about to approach up to the 6th gear and you're ready to upshift, do the opposite downshift and hit the brakes very firm for the Dunlop Kerr, and you should be absolutely fine. Just take a little bit of getting used to for that corner, but as long as you brake earlier rather than later, you should be fine. So now going into the Schumacher S, keep it in nice and tight, and then just slowly bring on the acceleration on the exit of the corner, so you're changing direction for the right-hander. Brake here just between the 2nd and 3rd braking marker to your right-hand side. You'll see that with a better look on the next particular lap that we do. As we now keep it nice and tight for the Warsteiner curve, bring it out wide a little bit to touch the rumble strip and keep on with the acceleration. Now for the right-hander here, you are going to see I'm going to just gently reduce acceleration. Just reduced enough just to slow the motorcycle down enough to get in the corner and hit the brakes very firm upon that first braking marker. Keep it in nice and tight, flick it to the left to the right for the NGK chicane, and then bring on the acceleration for the final part of the track as you bring on the brakes, just trail braking it in. I did run it a little bit wide there, so check out the rest of the laps to make sure I get it right. But as we now bring on the acceleration past the BMW sign, bringing on massive amounts of acceleration with zero electronics right now as we brake just as we get to that very first braking marker. You're going to see how much brake is being applied here by glancing into the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You'll see a hell of a lot of front brake was applied and a lot of rear brake as well. Braking hard enough on the rear brake to slow the motorcycle down, but not enough so it loses traction and starts to slip and slide. If that starts to happen, release the square button or whatever button it is you have set to the rear brake. For me, it's the square button, and then just reapply just gradually to make sure that you don't end up just completely spinning off the motorcycle. So now going into the righter side of the part of the track here, don't go to the left because the bump is even worse. Stick to the right and then chuck it into the left-hander so you can get into this particular part. So now into forward curve, bring on the acceleration, make sure you're tucking in and keeping an eye on this left-hand side here, because you're going to be seeing that part of sort of pathway to the left-hand side there, that bit of extra tarmac. Keep an eye on that, because as you approach that, I want you to start braking. I don't really use that for myself. I tend to use it from the gears because I can hear it getting up to 6th gear, so then I start braking. But it is a good visual aid if you're looking for more of a visual aid rather than an audio aid. So we now go on to the right hand side for the Michael Schumacher S. Pay attention to the right hand side here. There's a braking marker coming up just after that very first braking marker. Between the two of the 2nd and 3rd braking marker, you can start braking there. So as we now go on the right hand side for the Warsteiner curve, nice and tight to the apex, and run it a little bit wide there, but the rumble strip kind of works like a berm sometimes. You can get in there and use a bit of extra speed, dropping the acceleration ever so slightly for that right hander there. You see we gained a bit more time, and braking as you see that bit of tarmac on the right hand side before the very first braking marker zone that you see there on your right hand side of your screen. So now going into the final part of the lap for the Nurburgring, running it in a little bit wider once again. A little bit more adjustments to do, and I think we'll tackle that corner a lot better than that. But we'll now get across the line in just a moment's time to improve the lap time once more, no doubt. It is an improvement by 0.2 of a second. Braking at the first braking marker, a lot of front brake, a lot of rear brake, but as you can see, just dropping the rear brake just as we feel like we're losing enough speed to start then getting into the right-hander there. So don't be holding down the rear brake for the whole entirety of it. You will have to let go and maybe reapply it if you've ran it a little bit too wide, or also just try and let it go and downshift all the way down to 1st gear to use the most of the engine braking on this MV Agusta. So position yourself to the right hand side of the track, nice and slow and gentle movements for this particular part, using a bit of rear brake, a little bit of trail brake as well from the front brake, and now starting to chuck it into the right hand side for the forward curve. Nice and tight to the apex there for that fourth corner. So bring on the acceleration, feast your eyes to the left hand side of your screen, you're going to see that bit of tarmac, you see it now, begin to start braking as you get near, or roughly the middle part of it, or towards the first part. As I say, I went a little bit wide for that one because I went a little bit later than that, so definitely go for an earlier line. So now into the Schumacher S, running it wider, then chucking in nice and tight. A little bit of an adjustment there because I thought I was going to touch the rumble strip. You don't really want to be touching the rumble strip at any point in that particular part of the track. Braking here a little bit later than we did in the previous lap, so it still works, but I would advise you to use that very first braking marker. I refer to that one as it's the first braking marker you see on the right hand side of your screen. So already we are up by a whopping ton, 1.3 seconds to the previous Ghost. This is when I've started to really chuck out the fast lap times, but this is not really that important because I'm going to hit the brakes here a little bit too late towards after the first braking marker, or just on it, and you can see ran it a bit too deep and made the mistake. So make sure you go well before that first braking marker. Even go way before that if you have to, just to make sure you get the goal lap time. You don't have to be gaining world record pace, just get the goal lap time. That's what we're here for. That's what I'm doing the video for. So bringing on the power then, we are going to improve the lap time, but of course it doesn't really matter. So we've got one more lap in me, so let's go for very firm on the brakes for the first corner. Rear brake, front brake applied, downshifting as well, keeping it nice and tight to the apex. A little bit too tight to the apex for my liking, but it's still very solid going into the first corner. Now into turn 2 for the Mercedes Arena, running it a little bit wide to then brake nice and early here to keep it nice and tight to the apex. It's very important to keep it tight to the apexes there, because if you lose that one, it's going to be very difficult to get into the right-hander there with such a tight angle. So make sure you keep it tight for the first corner, and then you should be alright for the second. Braking in now for the left-hander. It's a very bumpy part, so don't feel too alarmed. You can tackle it with a bit of rear brake and just slowly bringing on the front brake. If you slam the front brake, you're going to have a bad time in that particular corner, so just maybe a 50% of a press. Braking before the sort of rumble strips there and just in the middle of that tarmac part seems to be okay. Do run it a little bit wide, so I would probably suggest doing it a little bit earlier than what I've just done there, but this is the lap time I did. So onto the left hand side, keep it nice and tight to the Schumacher S and continue to use acceleration, but only about 50%. So as you get the change of direction, don't kill the power, just slowly reduce acceleration from like a 80% down to 40 or even 50% if you're confident. So now onto the right hand side, we'll go for the Warsteiner curve for the very final time of asking. Ran it a little bit too deep there for my liking, so I lost a little bit of time compared to the previous lap, but we'll get into the right hand side now and tackle the most important part of the Nurburgring. Keeping an eye on the right hand side, braking just as we got up to that tarmac part, keeping it nice and firm, clipping the rumble strip ever so slightly. Try to avoid the rumble strips in that corner, they can be quite lethal if you're not careful. So now onto the right hand side for the final part. Ran it a little bit deep once again, can't seem to get that one right today, but never mind about that. Do not panic, do not fear, because this lap time will be more than enough to get the goal lap time. So 1:58.853. So there you go then guys, those are my 4 lap times here in the Nurburgring of the GP circuit on board the MV Agusta, and as you can see, the 4th lap was definitely the quickest in every sector. Not quite as good as we were in the first sector in the 3rd lap, but it's still very, very solid nonetheless. So if you want to compare your lap times, you can do so now. So there you go then guys, that is the world record for now. I'm guessing it's already been beaten. I didn't exactly go completely crazy with trying to get the world record, but there it is, we have it for the time being. So upon that note guys, I hope this video has helped you. Let me know in the comment section down below if it has. If you enjoyed the video, also let me know and hit the like button because it helps the channel out quite a lot. Hit the subscribe button as well, and I will see you in the next DrAce video. Thanks for watching guys, and ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.